Hello, I'm Logan Phillips, and welcome to my vlog, or as my office likes to call it, the VLOGAN. This is a vlog dedicated to people with special needs and those who love them. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the VLOGAN. Today, I am lucky enough to be talking to the Harshaw family. If you don't know who Zayne and Blue Spectrum are, you're probably in the minority here in Central Ohio, because Zayne and Blue Spectrum are famous. Zayne is an accomplished guitarist, and his band Blue Spectrum performs all over the city at events ranging from festivals to restaurants and bars to programs and events for people with disabilities. So we're going to get to know Zayne and his family and his support crew today. Zayne, can you tell me, when did you know that you had, or realize that you had, a special talent for music?
Because I started playing guitar when I was 14. Then when I was 15, that's why I just got me a bass guitar and I started doing some bass riffs. And my dad's friend was telling me that I have a gift from God. Like I have perfect pitch.
Can you tell me how is it that you just even knew to pick up a guitar? What was that like?
Well, funny thing is, I started on Guitar Hero,
The video
the
game.
video game.
Really? Okay.
Mhm.
Awesome.
Yeah. And I like when I was between 13 and 14, when I started playing Guitar Hero, I'm like, okay, Dad, I'm ready to play it. I want to play the real instrument.
Okay.
Part of our story is that we didn't see it. And neither Gene or myself are musicians, but he did play trumpet in school. And when we think back now, we noticed that he was able to hear something on the radio, on TV, and play it back almost immediately. And which is very impressive. But at the time, we were so focused on the diagnosis of autism. We thought it was nice, but we were always like, well, let's get back to the academics and helping him with his therapies and all that. We really didn't see it, but he did love the game Guitar Hero, and that started his interest in guitars. And he almost demanded. He's like, I want to play a guitar. So we got him a guitar for his 12th birthday, and it proceeded to sit and collect dust for 2 years. But then when he was 14, for whatever reason, he picked it up and he was just up in his room and he was looking at YouTube videos and things like that, and literally taught himself. And we were barely paying attention. Not that we weren't involved, but we just weren't focused on that. We really, I mean, when he used to say he wanted to be in a band, he was going to have a band, and we really didn't believe him. And we were like, well, that's nice and everything, but let's get back to your homework. And I mean, here we are. It's amazing.
Wow.
He taught himself.
And how old are you now, Zayne?
26, but I'll be 27 next Friday.
Okay, awesome. Well, happy early birthday.
Well,
Now,
thank you.
now, Gene, as a father of 3 boys who play a lot of video games, were you sort of Zayne, hey, you're spending too much time on that Guitar Hero?
No, not really. We did quickly learn, though, that he was able to focus better on his schoolwork if he was able to play with his guitar first.
Okay.
Typically, we were about, you come home, you get started on your homework and having a very regimented academic schedule, and just quickly realized that, you know what, he seems to focus a lot better if he can kind of get that guitar out of his system, let him go and play with his guitar, and then getting back on his homework. So, but we had absolutely no idea where this would take.
Wow. Now, Zayne, you mentioned something called perfect pitch. For those of us who aren't in the music business, what does perfect pitch mean?
Well, at the age of 16, I was taking guitar lessons. My one guitar teacher was playing on his piano to tell me what, like, he wants me to guess what key that is, and I named all the keys right. And the funny part is, when he hit three keys, like 3 notes, he had a cat, which I love cats. And I said, the cat distracted me. And then when he let the cat out, and I named all the 3 keys, and then I named them all correct.
That is what happened. It was amazing on a lot of levels. Gene, you actually tell the story better because it was a pretty emotional time, something we realized after that fact. Can you let him know that story, Gene?
When someone has perfect pitch, it means that they're able to hear a note and or a series of notes, a chord, and know the composition of it, know the actual note without the need for a reference note. So about the best example I could think of, if you've ever seen like a barbershop quartet or the Sweet Adelines, someone in the group will have like a pitch pipe.
Yes.
And they'll go, that is called the reference note. And that lets everyone in the quartet know where they are to start. So a note or two above that, or a note or two below that. So they get that note in their ear, and it lets them know where they should fall in at, so that there's a harmony.
Okay.
So Zayne, even though he had never read music and does not read music, when he hears a sound, he knows what key it is. So whether it doesn't matter if it's a string instrument, wind instrument, keys, the sound of a car starting. I tell people, I say, if you pass gas, he'll tell you what key it is.
Well, Zayne, I would love for you to come to my house. I have 3 boys, and there are a lot of passing gases going on with my 3 boys.
Okay.
That might be entertaining.
So the story that he was referencing, we did once we realized that he had this guitar playing ability, I said, well, maybe we ought to take him to a teacher to kind of see what happens here. And we went to an instructor. He had lessons in his home. So we're sitting in his home and we're having a conversation. He's asking Zayne, how does he play? He asked him if he had perfect pitch. Of course, we didn't know what perfect pitch was either. And Zayne says, I don't know. I just hear him play it. So he said, I'm going to try something. So he had Zayne position himself with his back to a piano because he had a piano in the room. My wife and I are sitting in opposite corners. So he's on the piano. He said, I want to test you. Now, my wife and I, we kind of looked at each other. I think we had the same identical thought was, oh, great, a test. And when you're dealing with someone that has a type of developmental disability, it seems like you just get bombarded with so many, oh, there's going to be these challenges, going to be these struggles. And it, unbeknownst to yourself, it takes a tear on you, it wears you out. And it can actually warp the way you see your loved one, as if there's always going to be, you look at them through the eyes of deficiencies. Mm-hmm. Well, when he asked if he had perfect pitch, I spoke up and said, no, he didn't have perfect pitch. Now, mind you, I don't even know what perfect pitch is. But yet I spoke up and said, no, he doesn't have perfect pitch. And it would be some years later when the gravity of that moment hit me. Mm-hmm. And it let me know just how damaged I have become. Mm-hmm. And so he said, Zayne, I'm gonna hit a note on the piano. You tell me what note what key it is. So he hits a key, ding, and without hesitation, Zayne names off the key, B flat. He does another one, and Zayne does it again, F sharp. And my wife and I looked at each other, we were just absolutely blown away with what we just saw. Then he says, I'm gonna hit 2 keys at the same time. Tell me what 2 keys you hear. He wound up hitting about 6 pairs, and Zayne got them all. So then he says, I'm gonna hit 3 keys at once. Tell me what you hear. He hit 3 keys, and as Zayne said, the man had a cat. The cat walked in, and Zayne loves cats. So he said, I'm sorry, the cat distracted me. So we're kind of laughing about it. But the guy goes back to his desk, and we started talking about what just happened. And the guy was telling us how he's, been teaching for a number of years, had never had a student that could do that. And as he's saying that, the cat leaves the room. Zayne says, "Excuse me," and tells him the 3 keys that he hit several minutes ago. And the guy looked over at the keyboard and was like, wow. Now, that was the first many wow aha moments that we would have.
Wow.
An introduction to perfect pitch and his gifted ability.
Wow, boy, what a story. Thank you for sharing that. My question is, how does a person like that's never been exposed to music know the words B flat? I mean, is that just something, Zayne, that just came to your mind? Okay, that's a B flat, because had you heard that before, or you just knew it?
I've heard it before.
Okay.
He did take trumpet
Got it.
lessons
That's
in
right. You
school.
mentioned
he was
that.
in the so he was exposed, but even the teacher there said, well, he doesn't read music.
Yes.
Here's the funny story. This is kind of funny, I'm about to say. I was hitting all the notes right when I was back in 4th grade.
With the trumpet.
With the trumpet. And then the music teacher just stopped the music, just walked up to me, angry, said, "Why aren't you looking at your book?" I was like, "What? What's the problem?" I'm like, I just thought that I was like in my head saying, "I'm like, okay, where are you getting that from? I'm hitting the right notes."
That illustrates something that I think is
that's
interesting.
Kind of funny.
It was funny. I don't know if it was funny at the time, but it illustrates.
I wasn't mad. I was confused. I was confused. It was
Sure.
About sometimes when music teachers, they have a set way on how their students learn, but sometimes they don't learn that way. We did go to that guitar teacher, but we didn't go very long. He was a wonderful man, and he helped us discover him having perfect pitch. But that's not the way Zayne learns. For whatever reason, he learns by watching. And we discovered this later, how we have to be careful dealing with kids in general, but particularly kids on the spectrum or with neurological differences. We can't put them all in a box. They don't all learn the same way. And that particular music teacher, I think Zayne learned a lot, but they never really noticed his gift, because they were just looking like, you learn it like this, you play it like this. And
I was watching their fingers, like what they're doing. Like, I just watch what their fingers are doing. I just follow it.
So visually.
Wow. That's just, so whenever I meet an artist, Zayne, I say wow a lot. So you'll have to forgive me as I say that, because it's so outside of anything that I've ever been able to do. I mean, my wife when we go to a concert and people start clapping, my wife basically looks at me and says, "Don't clap," because I can't even get that right.
Oh. But that's the core of our story that we try to say when we're talking to parents, is that we can't claim exactly like what the story of Venus and Serena Williams. Their father, he had this plan and he executed it perfectly, obviously. And I don't know the intricacies of that, but we didn't know it. We didn't see it. Neither one of us are musicians, and we doubted it a lot. And one of the most amazing aspects for me is Zayne had severe dexterity issues as a child. He took almost 8 years of occupational therapy because he struggled to button his shirt, tie his shoes. We just wanted him to sign his name. And yet he plays the guitar with that. And of course, it overlaps. He can certainly write now, but having that passion seemed to really open up a lot of different areas, even socially and speaking. So we just want people to keep an eye out for whatever gifts their child might have.
That's amazing. And Gene, when you mentioned, you talked about how, the parents become damaged, what I think that's, having that just, and people tell you and constantly saying, what can't our child do, does change your frame of reference. I see it a lot in my own practice. People come in and they say, well, we're gonna need a guardianship of our child. And we start talking and I say, no, we're not going to do a guardianship. We're going to do supported decision making. Your child doesn't need a guardianship. We can support your child to be independent and supported without having a guardianship. But, you know, because people have been told, okay, here's what my child can't do, you know, their first step is, well, that's a guardianship. He's 18. So I see that every day. I like to say that I talk people out of guardianship a lot because it's, you know, it's not necessary. That's what I had never thought of the words that you put. So Gene, thank you so much for framing it that way.
Well, it's just that when Zayne's gift surfaced, the first places that would book him to come play would be, you know, these different organizations regarding disability and special needs. And we never forgot who, even as his acclaim grows, we still make time to make him available to perform for different organizations that have different things going on. And what we found was, as his acclaim grew, people wanted to stick microphones in our faces, wanted to know what it was that we did to bring this about. And like my wife says, we're not musicians. So it's not like, well, we did this or we did that. And as astounding as his gift is, as Gwen alluded to, we missed it. We were not really cognizant of what it was that was happening, even within our own household. And we were very involved parents, and strictly just focusing on the reading, writing, arithmetic, and making sure that things were set up academically, or different go to this appointment and this appointment and this analysis, and you know, these tests and these results and what these mean, and so caught up in that life that you actually lose sight of the individual's personhood. So as people wanted to kind of put us on a pedestal, I told my wife, I said, you know, the more I think about this, and as much as we missed, I said, we're going to have to be honest, and it's not going to make us look so good. We're going to have to be transparent, you know, and not, because you know how easy it would be to try to take credit for that gift and make us look like, you know, oh, we're, you know, the greatest parents ever, and we're so this and we're so that, and look at our son, and it's a reflection on, because, you know, there's times we take talent and we make that a reflection on how that person is as a person. They must be a great person because they have this great talent. No, they just have a great talent, you know. So you can't allow people to look at you through a lens of greatness as if you've been these great parents because of this great gift. It's like, nah, it's not as simple as that.
Yeah. Well, thank you for that. Yeah. Now, Zayne, I have a question. Do you practice what you do?
Yeah.
Okay. So you've taken your gift and you still work at it.
Yeah.
So it sounds to me like you took a gift and you've added on to it through the hard work that you've put in. Is that right? How many hours a day do you spend playing?
I practice with my band sometimes. Usually like 1 or 2 hours. Or
it depends.
It depends.
It depends. Every week is different, and there's probably some weeks that he probably could practice more. But he's always learning new songs, and he just his first album, his first CD just dropped, which was great. Wow. And with original music. And we have another story about how we had to be refocused. We've spent a lot of time doubting his abilities, and we keep getting shown, like, would you stop doing that? Gene, you actually, because it actually happened with you, you should explain what happened when we met Marco.
When we were approached about recording a CD, the first thing I said, well, you know, he doesn't read music and he doesn't write music, so not quite sure if that's a good idea or not. And the producer said, listen, he said, the music's already inside of him. He said, you let us get him in a studio with producers. He said, and you watch the magic happen. He said it's already in him.
Mhm.
It's just be in an environment where it can be pulled out of him. He said, you just watch what happens. And sure enough, that he was absolutely, 100% correct. Once we got into the studio, and in fact, the project actually took like 3 months longer than we thought it would, just because Zayne kept adding to it and just kept not being satisfied with it and just wanting to continue to get it to where he wanted it. And they were excellent at letting him be him in the studio. And the CD definitely has it has his thumbprint all over it.
That's wonderful. So I definitely want to get the information about how people can get that CD, and I want to get that CD. How do you decide what song you want to learn so that you can play it at a concert?
Well, depends if I like it, like how it sounds.
Okay, so do you listen to the radio a lot, or do you have lots of old CD? Well, boy, that I'm an old man now. I just said CDs.
Hey, trust me, I'm fine with that. I'm into the older generation music.
All
He
right.
is.
So
He is. He likes classic rock, particularly.
you get on, Pandora and listen to music with the hope of finding something that, hey, I'm going to play this.
Actually, I got Spotify.
Okay, you use Spotify. Okay. And so if you'll just take me through, because I was so impressed with Purple Rain, what was that like? I mean, how you heard it and you said, okay, I'm going to learn how to play that. And then what do you do then? What's your method for learning a song?
Well, I listened to the song. It almost sounds like so like first time I wasn't really interested in that song in that time. So I listened to it. I'm like, oh yeah, I don't know how I can compete with that.
Right. It is Prince.
I remember what got our attention to Purple Rain. He played along with our church choir occasionally, and it was a gospel song, but there was a riff in it that was very similar to the Purple Rain riff, and that's what got us thinking about it. I mean, this was a number of years ago. That's become his signature song, but it was before Prince had even passed away. And back then, I think his dad and I had a little more input. We would be like, maybe this song. But now he picks most of his songs. We listen to satellite radio a lot whenever we're in the car, and he's always like, would this be a good song? Any song he hears, he puts it through that filter.
Then what happens? You hear a song that you think, okay, I like that. Then do you play it over for yourself again? Or do you take parts of it and learn the parts?
Usually I pick up those notes really fast.
Okay.
So like usually sometimes there's a time I learn a song in one day.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
But he'll perfect it. He'll continue to work on it to perfect it.
I don't do it just one time. I do it like 10 times or 20 times.
Okay.
So we get till the song because I want to make sure the song is tighter.
Okay.
Do you learn it in parts? Because I think he asked that. Like,
sometimes, yeah.
Okay.
I had to get one of those parts right, like get one of them down, like I take half of the songs, like then on the other parts, I had to repeat it too, like on that one hard part I'm trying to get down.
Okay.
I make a mistake.
I noticed in Purple Rain, you're actually playing like
the lyrics.
Singing. Okay, and is that always the way you play, or I noticed on your website that there are singers in your band. Do you sometimes play not the lyrics and have somebody sing with the lyrics on a song?
Yeah. I also sing, sometimes I sing, and I also sing background too.
You sing background too, okay. My head is just swimming with all these bands that are led by a guitarist. Do you play any Van Halen?
Yes.
Okay.
I do Eruption after Purple Rain.
Yes, one of the videos that I watched that at the end, that was just amazing.
He also plays Hot for Teacher.
You do? All right. That's a good one. Great. You don't meet too many bands that are named after their guitarist, and I think that's really fabulous. I know that Slash from Guns N' Roses has his own band.
Yeah.
You play any Guns N' Roses?
Yes. Sweet Child of Mine.
Oh wow. You're speaking my generation, so I love it.
Yeah, that's generation I prefer.
Yeah. Now, I noticed on your bio it talked about blues. Is that do you play the blues? Because the songs I've seen aren't bluesy, and is that just because the audience wasn't a blues audience?
Well, when I think of blues, I think about blues guitarists like Stevie Ray Vaughan, Eric Clapton, Chuck Berry, John Lee Hooker, or Muddy Waters.
Oh, he loves the blues. But you know, the name Blue Spectrum actually has a couple of meanings. Of course, spectrum refers to the autism spectrum, because when we first started, it was all kids on the spectrum. But it also refers to a spectrum of music. They play everything. And I mean, he kind of started out at blues jams. So he started out with a lot of blues, which is very guitar centric. So that worked. But he loves his classic rock, but they play a little bit of jazz, and they play a little bit of Johnny Cash, and I mean, everything. So he plays everything from Adele to Johnny Cash to Bruno Mars.
But I also think that the emphasis on the blues came from playing at the various blues jams around town. Once he started doing that, that really enhanced his playing style. It influenced the way he reacts with the audience. He was eventually even chosen by the Columbus Blues Alliance to represent Columbus at the International Blues Challenge in Memphis in the under 21 showcase. That's where every blues community sends their artists that's like their up and coming artist. You definitely see there's a heavy blues influence. Part of what he does in his playing style, in playing the lyrics, but also being able to play what they call the fills. And the fills is like that space in between the lyrics. That's a real heavy, has a heavy influence on blues music. That's what separates him from a lot of guitarists. I mean, and I wouldn't know this had it not been for the conversations that I've had with many guitarists that have educated me in what they see and hear when they see him play. I mean, I had a friend of mine. He says, "Man, I watch him play sometimes." He said, and I fluctuate from awe and then anger. Because it's like he does things that are beyond his years that I've never been able to do, and I will never be able to do. And they just kind of they marvel at that. So that's that. So yeah, so there is a definitely heavy blues influence in terms of how he plays.
Thank you for explaining that to me. As a non-musician, this is all I'm learning a lot. My head is swimming. I've got so many things to Google after this. Now, Zayne, I'd like to talk, if you don't mind, about you have a signature style up on the stage. Your hat. Can you talk to me about where the hat and the blue bandana came from?
Well, it started out when my mom looked for that. It was a Jimi Hendrix hat. It used to be the bandana used to be purple, but we tried to change it to blue. But I have different colors of them.
Okay, got it. And you always wear sunglasses on stage?
There's an interesting story about that. As you may know, people with autism have trouble with eye contact. It can be actually painful for them. And he's gotten a lot better, but he had that. So those are prescription sunglasses. And we decided to get them to help him with the eye contact issue, but it also looks cool.
Boy, does it ever.
So it works out well. I
would love to learn about the band and how the band came together. I saw that you have a vocalist, a keyboardist, a bass player, and a percussionist. How did that come together? And do you have a trailer with all of your equipment? And is that what Dad drives, or how does that look?
We're planning on getting a trailer.
Oh, you are?
That's your area.
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay.
So real quick, the band Blue Spectrum started off as an autistic teen play date on a snowy Saturday, January 19th, 2013. I remember the day. And it was someone who was, we had 4 autistic teenagers. One was a Special Olympic teammate, and one through the autistic teen group at Aspirations at Ohio State, and another one from the autistic teen unit at Nationwide Children's Hospital. And they all had a fascination with music. One was a drummer, one was a bassist, another one was a guitarist. And we just brought them together just to kind of set an atmosphere to make friendships. That's all it was, just using music as the conduit. Little did we know that it would take off and actually be, move out of the garage and into the streets, if you will. And so, but over time, there's been, band members come and go. And Zayne just kept getting better and better and better. And next thing you know, veteran musicians were like, hey, I would play with him anytime. So we've always been able to attract very seasoned musicians, knowing that wanted to play with him. So like I said, the latest version that we have, like I said, we have our keyboardist, and in fact, the female singer that we have, this is the first time we've ever had a female singer. So that opens up a whole new world of songs for us. And yeah, we do travel. Don't have the trailer quite yet, but who knows what's in the future. I've certainly learned never say never. And we want it to be fun above all else. We want it to be a good time.
That's wonderful. So I got two questions that I have to ask. The first is for my son, Crosby, who is really into America's Got Talent. Have you ever considered going on America's Got Talent, Zayne?
Oh, dear.
I'll explain. People were saying that to us all the time. And we had some concerns because we didn't know if what he does would fit the protocol, so to speak. But someone approached us and he's like, you've got to go, you've got to go. So we at the last minute, we went to one, and it was humongous. It was in Detroit, right, Gene? Yeah, Detroit at a convention center, thousands of people, and they had us run through, and he actually got to audition. After hours of waiting, we got into this room, and it was about 20 people per room with one, and you have 90 seconds. And I remember one of our concerns was that he kind of works into his showmanship in even an individual song. So if he does one song, it's the end that's the crescendo, and we were just but him starting in the middle of the song, we struggled with that. It went well. He got called back for a second, but I learned something we didn't get all the way through, but this is a number of years ago, I didn't tell our story. I just kind of hung back, and I learned a very valuable lesson. I should have told our story. So they were impressed with his guitar playing, but we didn't go in. And we have been invited to go back, and we may very well do it. We may do it with the whole band.
So America's Got Talent is my son's favorite show, and we watch it together. It's kind of a bonding thing, and I would say that I would love to see Simon Cowell's reaction, because what I have seen is just amazing. So and then I also wanted to ask you, is the Conspiracy Band played at my wedding. Are you familiar with the Conspiracy Band?
We know about them, yes.
Okay. I was, and they play in Grandview on the lawn. Those are the local bands that I know. I know Blue Spectrum, and I know the Conspiracy Band. How awesome I think that it would be because I don't think that they have a guitarist who riffs like you do.
Oh wow! No, that we know the Conspiracy Band. They've been around a long time.
I think I just sounded like I knew music. I said the word riff. I've never used that. I learned that from you today, Zayne. The word riff.
Right.
What I would like to do is to close by thanking the three of you for coming on VLOGAN, my vlog, and sharing your story and your talent with us. What a wonderful family that you are, and what a tremendous talent, Zayne, that you have. And the thing I love about it, because I'm going to tell my boys, is that I met today a virtuoso guitarist, but he still works hard at his craft. And I've got three boys, and one is a pretty good soccer player, but he doesn't want to work at it. He wants to go out there and be the best without working at it. And so to meet someone like you who has this gift, to also say, you know what, I'm going to take this gift and I'm going to improve on it because I want to, and you're sharing it with the world. And I can't thank you enough for being here, and keep playing and sharing your gift with the world.
I'll tell you something real quick here. when he won his talent show when he was a junior in high school, I put the video on Facebook and people made comments. And one gentleman who is a veteran guitarist in town told Zayne, no matter how good you get, never ever stop learning.
Yeah.
And Zayne took that to heart, even to this very day, to never ever stop learning.
Playing in a high school talent show, I don't think that's even fair, Zayne. They ought to have a special category where, okay, if you are really, I mean, because I've been to some high school talent shows, and so yeah, well, that's just wonderful. Zayne, thank you so much. We're going to link to your website and get your tour dates out there for people to see. I'm going to make sure that I come to one to see you live, and my boys will think I'm pretty cool because I'll know the lead of a band, I'll know the band manager, and I'll know the band roadie. I mean, this will be they'll think that I am just something special. Do your fingers ever hurt?
Actually, no.
In the beginning, though.
In the beginning, they did, but
when
now
you first started,
I built muscles in my fingers, man. I don't feel pain anymore.
And do you
I
play?
remember when you first learned Hotel California, it was real painful.
I know,
It's
I
not
had to stretch my fingers. Even when I played Every Breath You Take by the Police, that was a hard. You had to stretch your fingers to play that guitar riff.
but after a while, you get used to it, and it doesn't hurt anymore.
Through practice. Now, do you play with a pick?
Yes, and I also like 2 years ago I learned the finger pick.
Okay. And so that means you're using your fingers, and so your fingers have calluses on them because they're tough.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, Zayne, I could stay here and talk to you all day because it's like talking to a Picasso and saying, hey, how do you do this? So it's just wonderful to be able to talk with you, and thank you for sharing your parents with me today and letting them come on.
Anytime.
Yeah, that's great.
Thank you.
I hope you enjoyed this episode of VLOGAN. Please like, share, and subscribe to the RRPG channel so you can stay up to date with some of the latest news in the disability community.